There is a criminal charge that sounds very serious and also very vague. It is called using superstition to undermine the implementation of law. When many people first hear this phrase, they may instinctively think, did someone engage in something mystical and deceptive? Did someone defraud many people? Did someone cause serious consequences? But a person cannot be sentenced based on feeling. A community cannot be convicted based on a label.
The most basic questions in criminal conviction are: what did you do? Which law did you violate? What consequences did you cause? Where is the evidence? So in today's episode, I want to ask a very simple question. Using superstition to undermine the implementation of law, which law was actually undermined? In the 2572 incident, according to currently public information, several members of Lifechanyuan were held criminally responsible under a charge related to using superstition to undermine the implementation of law. Some were sentenced to 2 years and 8 months, some were sentenced to 2 years and 6 months, some received suspended sentences, and one person has still not been sentenced because he refused to plead guilty. But up to now, before we have seen the complete written judgments, the most crucial questions still have not been clearly answered. First, what is superstition? Second, who used superstition? Third, which specific law or administrative regulation was undermined? Fourth, what actual consequences were caused? These questions are not word games, they are the core of conviction. If someone is said to have used superstition, then it must first be explained, what exactly did he use? Was it belief in the soul? Belief in karma? Belief in heaven, hell, or the afterlife? Belief that life has a higher meaning? Was it the holding of some kind of ceremony? Was it the writing of certain articles about life, the universe, God, Tao, deities, or Buddhas? If all of these can be generally classified as superstition, then the problem becomes very serious. Because in human society, too many people hold beliefs beyond the material level. Some believe in Buddhism, some believe in Taoism, some believe in Christianity, some believe in Islam, some believe in ancestors, some burn paper offerings during Qingming festival, some believe in feng shui, some perform rituals for deceased relatives, some believe that good is rewarded and evil is punished. These beliefs are not necessarily accepted by everyone, and not all of them can necessarily be proven by science. However, a belief itself does not automatically equal a crime. What criminal law should punish is specific harmful conduct. It should not punish what a person believes inwardly, what spiritual articles a person writes, the choice of a different way of life, or the mere fact that others do not understand, dislike, or cannot accept something. If someone committed fraud, then please explain whom they defrauded, how much money was involved, and how the fraud was carried out. If someone unlawfully detained another person, then please explain who was detained, where, for how long, and what the evidence is. If someone organized violence, then please explain what the violent acts were, who the victims were, and what harm was caused. If someone undermined the implementation of law, then please explain. Which law did he undermine? Which administrative regulation? How exactly did he undermine it? Whom did he prevent from fulfilling a legal obligation? Which state organ did he prevent from enforcing the law normally? What consequences were caused? These questions must be clear, otherwise, undermining the implementation of law becomes an enormous basket, into which any different thought, different belief, or different lifestyle can be placed. This is what concerns us most. What is Lifechanyuan? You may disagree with it, you may dislike it, you may think its ideas are unusual, you may also believe its way of life is not suitable for you. But Lifechanyuan has long published articles openly, it has openly discussed its ideas, it has openly shown life in the second home, it has openly talked about marriage, family, social systems, the meaning of life, and the direction of civilization. It is not an underground organization, it is not a secret group, its controversies have also long existed publicly online. If these public articles and life practices constitute crimes, then the following questions must be answered. Which article constitutes a crime? Which sentence constitutes a crime? Which video constitutes a crime? Which activity constitutes a crime? Which specific act undermined the implementation of which law? The matter cannot end simply by saying, using superstition. Nor can a person be detained for a long time, sentenced, forced to repent, forced to denounce, or forced to deny their beliefs simply because someone says, cult, evil, or abnormal. In the 2572 incident, according to currently public testimonies, many Chanyuan Chao were questioned about matters including organizational structure, ideas, sexual freedom, nude photos, disaster-related statements, donated funds, videos they had posted, website passwords, and so on. These questions can certainly be investigated if there are clear illegal facts. They can also be handled according to law. But investigation does not equal guilt. Questioning does not equal crime. Having faith does not equal crime. Having donation records does not equal fraud. Having spiritual ideas does not equal a superstition-related crime. Living communally does not equal undermining the implementation of law. Criminal conviction cannot rely on association. It cannot rely on fear. It cannot rely on social prejudice. It cannot rely on, I think it does not look like a normal organization. Criminal conviction must rely on facts, evidence, and law. That is why we keep asking again and again. Where is the written judgment? Where is the indictment? Where is the evidence list? What facts did the court actually find? What acts did the procuratorate actually allege? Did the lawyers have a full opportunity to defend? Were the parties forced to make untrue statements? Between the so-called superstition and the so-called undermining the implementation of law, what specific causal connection was there? This is the core of the case. There is a great distance between a person believing in the afterlife and that person undermining the implementation of law. There is a great distance between a person writing spiritual articles and that person undermining the implementation of law. There is also a great distance between a person participating in a communal living community and that person undermining the implementation of law. Unless there is clear evidence proving that the person used some kind of superstition-related statement to specifically incite, deceive, or organize others not to fulfill legal obligations, or specifically obstructed the implementation of state laws or administrative regulations, and caused consequences that can be legally recognized. Otherwise, merely having a different belief, a different idea, or a different way of life should not become a crime. There is also a very practical issue here. Chinese civil society already contains a large number of traditional beliefs and folk customs. Burning paper offerings during Qingming festival, ancestor worship during Zhongyuan festival, rituals after an elder passes away, burning incense and praying in temples, praying for blessings or disaster relief in Taoist temples, inviting people to read feng shui, believing in ancestral protection, believing in past and future lives. These phenomena have long existed in Chinese society. So, under what circumstances do these spiritual beliefs or folk activities enter the scope of criminal law? Where is the boundary? If the boundary is not clear, if law enforcement agencies can use it when they want and not use it when they do not, then it becomes selective enforcement. The most frightening part of selective enforcement is not that a particular person is punished, it is that no one knows where the safe boundary is. Today you say this is superstition, tomorrow someone else says that is superstition, the day after tomorrow, another place says a new life philosophy is also superstition. Then can ordinary people still think? Can they still believe? Can they still explore spiritual life? Can they still choose a different way of life? This is not only Lifechanyuan's issue. This is an issue everyone should care about. Because if a society wants to respect the rule of law, it must clearly define the boundary between crime and non-crime. A group should not be vaguely convicted simply because it is a minority. An idea should not be arbitrarily suppressed simply because it is not understood by the mainstream. A community should not be characterized, tried, and forgotten in silence simply because it has no power, no resources, and no voice. Let me say it again. We are not saying that no organization should be subject to legal review, nor are we saying that any belief can stand above the law. If someone harms others, handle it according to law. If someone commits fraud or amasses money through deception, handle it according to law. If someone restricts personal freedom, handle it according to law. If someone violently confronts society, handle it according to law. If someone truly undermines the implementation of state laws or administrative regulations, then handle that according to law as well. But please make the specific facts clear. Please present the specific evidence. Please write out the specific legal basis. Do not use a vague word to overwhelm everyone's questions. Do not use a heavy label in place of legal reasoning. Do not use the two words, superstition, to turn more than 20 years of public exploration, life practice, and personal choice by a spiritual community entirely into crime. If members of Lifechanyuan truly committed crimes, please tell us. Who committed the crime? What did they do? Whom did they harm? Which law did they undermine? What is the evidence? Why did these acts reach the level of a criminal offense? If these questions cannot be answered, then we have reason to keep asking. Because a person being sentenced is no small matter. A community being suppressed is no small matter. The unclear boundary of a criminal charge is even less a small matter. Today, the group being questioned is Lifechanyuan. Tomorrow, it could be any person with different ideas, different beliefs, or a different way of life. So the core question of this video is only one. Using superstition to undermine the implementation of law, which law was actually undermined? Do not just say vaguely that, there is a problem, do not just say vaguely, superstition, do not just say vaguely, evil, do not just say vaguely, bad influence. Please say clearly. Which law? Which act? Which consequence? Which piece of evidence? If this cannot be made clear, then the problem is not that we asked the wrong question. The problem is that the judgment itself needs to be seriously examined. True rule of law is not afraid of questions. True law should not rely on vagueness to maintain its authority. The more serious the charge, the clearer the facts must be. The more a person's freedom is involved, the more rigorous the evidence must be. The more thought and belief are involved, the less criminal law should become a tool for suppressing different consciousness.
The 2572 incident is still ongoing. The written judgments remain crucial. The boundaries of the charge still need to be seen, discussed, and verified. I will continue asking. Because when a person is sentenced for using superstition to undermine the implementation of law, we at least have the right to know which law he actually undermined.